Hello everyone, my name is Ankur Chaudhary. I did my PhD from Arizona State University last year with specialization in cybersecurity. And today I'll be discussing about a very interesting topic that how you can learn cybersecurity in school and have fun at it. So cybersecurity is a very broad topic and it can become quite overwhelming at times with the amount of information that you need to process. And there are a lot of questions when you want to understand how to approach this field of cybersecurity, like how with little or no knowledge, like you don't know what is Linux, what is the things like penetration testing, which are quite important in cybersecurity. So with that limited amount of knowledge, how do you get started? And what are the things that you need to learn to make a career out of this cybersecurity field and get a relevant job? And how to continuously improve your skills, acquire new skills, whom to reach out to, like if you are stuck because of something, how to seek help, like what books, what web links, what kind of forums you can go to learn about new concepts in the field of cybersecurity, and how to like keep this learning continuous without being kind of overwhelmed because of this. There is a lot of information out there, and can learning cybersecurity actually be a fun thing and not like very high stress kind of thing? So let me talk a little bit about what kind of careers you can target in cybersecurity. And my focus here is mainly on the industry side of careers. There is a separate kind of career, like where you can be a cybersecurity researcher, and like that requires a different kind of training. But with the significant number of people in the 468 class, I would assume like a lot of students would be interested in the industry side of things. So at entry level, basically you can have something like a system and network admin, like who understands how the fundamental of networks, firewalls, application gateways, uh, and like web filters, the routers, those things work, and he's able to maintain those and do some amount of monitoring. Then with the security admin, like there are pieces or there are departments in the organization known as Security Operations Center, where like you are supposed to monitor the threats that are affecting the network and resolve things like phishing. You receive all kind of spam email, malware through email from outside the organization. So the roles like security admin, network engineer, security analyst, they cover those security operation centers, uh, and they try to analyze what kind of threats are affecting. Some other roles include training the company users on things like password policy, phishing campaigns, like sending out mock phishing emails to different people in the company, and making sure that they understand this is a phishing email, training them on what is data security. Then you can have junior penetration tester who actively tries to identify some security weakness in terms of authentication and authorization in the organization, and come up with remediation to patch those vulnerabilities he identifies by targeting some websites, some routers in the company. At intermediate level, which requires some amount of industry experience and certifications, you have senior cybersecurity engineer, security consultant, or senior penetration tester. So they have a broader knowledge of the field, and they can not only do penetration testing or coverage for different kinds of uh, applications. They have good knowledge of what kind of programming platforms are there, and they can guide other junior engineers of the department in the security operations center. So they can also conduct design reviews. These days, there has been a major push towards the DevSecOps model, where you try to integrate the security within the development life cycle. So the people who are at intermediate level, they can step in and take care of all of these things, managing vulnerability management program, like with the operating systems and different services. There are security issues that are identified. So working with those different teams to get that patched as early as possible. Those are some of the things that person at intermediate level would do. There are threats like malware affecting endpoint, or a phishing email that lead to compromise of user system. So incident response team is responsible for dealing with those kind of scenarios as early as possible. Like if there is a Windows machine that is affected, so how to isolate that from the main network and tell users that this kind of security threat is affecting your network, and how to respond to this, then briefing the senior executives on this kind of threat. Those are the task of incident response engineer. There are companies that develop security products, or like the normal products like routers, firewalls, the webcams. So there are specific positions like reverse engineer or product security engineer. They basically look at the pieces of firmware or software and try to decode that. There are specific jobs like malware reverse engineer, like sometimes malware is obfuscated. So reverse engineering what was the motivation for that particular kind of malware, and then coming up with the attack signatures that can block the future malware of those kinds. So reverse engineer, product security engineers, they work on things like that. Then at senior level, you can have security architects who are responsible for identifying the security challenges very early in the life cycle. They work with teams to guide them on better security design and make sure like security is integrated within the entire product life cycle. And they are able to, like if their infrastructure changes, the security architect can guide different teams, like doing, say, network firewall upgrade in some manner, or changing some routes, how that can have security impacts. Then the security managers and chief information security engineers work with executives to lay out the things like cybersecurity plan, incident response plan, handling the task delegation to intermediate level engineers and entry level engineers, and defining the budget for the security program. Like teams are allocated budgets to purchase the security capabilities, like new monitoring system, new log analytics system. So the senior executives or senior level people in security are responsible for designing those budgets, and the budgets also include the training budgets. Like if the intermediate and entry level engineers need to undergo some certifications and training, so those kind of things are included in the budget. So presenting those budgets and high level findings to the executive team, showcasing the significant progress in terms of reducing the overall risk for the company. So the people at senior level basically do those kind of tasks. So as far as learning the cybersecurity is concerned, I believe that there are different kinds of approach people take. So according to me, I call it the C4 approach. Like you do your basic coursework within the school, and you undertake those kind of projects that are in those courses, like computer network security or software security, but you complement that with the things like cybersecurity competitions and security certifications. And one another thing that is very important for being a successful person in the field of cybersecurity is networking, like attending different conferences, meetups, building a community. So I am more likely to refer a person who might know in some capability uh, through like the network. And so basically it's easier to refer a person whom you know in some capacity. So networking helps a lot in that regard. So I think the community is the fourth uh, aspect of being a successful person in the field of cybersecurity. So as far as coursework is concerned, ASU does offer a good amount of uh, courses, like some clubs and courses teach you skills like Linux and computer networks, the 468 computer network security. So we also have software security and system security that cover different parts of the security spectrum. Then applied cryptography tells you about those cryptographic algorithms that are out there. And if you do know some programming things like C, C++, and Python, so those also help a lot in your development as a security professional. Then as far as the certifications are concerned, so there are some certifications that you can go for, and I've listed them out based on what level of career you might want to do them at. Like if I have very limited knowledge, maybe I go for an entry level certification. And if I have some knowledge of automation, scripting, Kali Linux penetration testing, then OSCP and OSWP are the kind of certifications. Some certifications, they make more sense for a person who is at a little bit senior level, like CISSP and CISM. So you can obviously get them right now, but some fundamental requirements are like you have certain management or industry experience to get the best value out of those certifications. So we know that ASU covers a lot of these course materials, but to complement the other set of skills, the certifications, the competitions, and community, we have a club at ASU known as DevilSec. So it's a cybersecurity club which helps students learn the security better and develop a career in the field of cybersecurity. So as part of this club, which I co-founded with some other people in 2019, we provide hands-on education and training for ethical hacking, networking, penetration testing, system web security. We cover a lot of things. So what do we do on a regular basis is that we learn new cybersecurity skills. Like if, say, one person has learned a skill, he conducts some kind of training for other people. We take part in different cybersecurity competitions, which I'll go over in a little bit. We invite people from industry like Bishop Fox, Honeywell, and are some of the companies that gave invited talk in past. We work on government-sponsored projects like we recently did ONR, Office of Naval Research, ROTC program where we designed the training and workshops for the ROTC students who are affiliated with military and who are doing their studies at ASU. Then we have something known as a book club where we read some cybersecurity books and try to implement or try to do those skills that are taught in the book, like we were recently going through Car Hackers Handbook. We interact and build a community that helps us improve ourselves and help us provide this knowledge with others. We also help students in jobs and interview preparation, and we try to do it in a manner that it doesn't become overwhelming, so it remains fun and interactive. We don't try to push too much pressure to perform on the new members so that they don't run away. So as part of our ONR ROTC project, we conducted the workshops, the ones highlighted in the blue color, like cybersecurity tools and technologies workshop was a 2-day workshop where we discussed things like log analysis, intrusion detection, firewall, network scanning. In the IoT security workshop, we did a lot of fun stuff like car hacking, drone hacking, hacking into Alexa, wireless routers. So we did it twice because it was very popular. So initially we had 30 students in May, and then again, a lot more interested people in July. Very recently, we did offensive cloud security workshop where we set up a vulnerable cloud environment, taught people how to use the tools and technologies in cloud and how to do penetration testing, identifying security weaknesses in a cloud network. And we have some other workshops planned. So we do take part in cybersecurity competition, like National Cybersecurity Defense Competition is one of the major ones that we are planning to do this year. This will be our 4th or 5th year taking part in this competition. We take part in cyber penetration testing competition where there are different schools from around US who take part in penetration testing drill against a application or a network with a lot of vulnerable applications. We do cybersecurity capstones. We have done several of these capstone in past. The title is Development of Cybersecurity Training. So we have one offering in fall 2021 to spring 2022. So, and we have 2 others that will finish in 2021 fall, which are going on the same project. So if you are interested, ask your capstone advisor about this. Then Storm is a competition where the teams are provided a kind of vulnerable environment which they have to patch and fix the bugs in like old version of Windows or unpatched vulnerability in the web software. Then there are training platforms like Hack the Box and Try Hack Me, which simulate like a vulnerable environment, which we try to work on. Basically, it involves getting a user level privilege on a vulnerable machine and the root level. We call it Whack the Box Wednesday. So every Wednesday we try to do a walkthrough or like try to jointly work on some of these boxes. And we do take part in some of the CTF competitions when we get time. Many of our members have work experience in the cybersecurity industry. They work for, including myself, we work for different companies in the field of cybersecurity. So many of us have certifications like OSCP, CompTIA, Security Plus. So we help others training on these certifications and help them understand the different concepts that lead to build off of these certifications. And based on our networking, we try to help each other in reviewing the resumes, like what kind of security skills you need to have for getting an interview call and how to handle that interview call to turn it into a job. A lot of members of the club who graduated are in industry, so that helped them a lot, and we plan to continue helping other people who take part in our club proceedings. So let's talk a little bit about cybersecurity defense competition, what it is, what kind of skills it can help you build for like your cybersecurity career. So what will happen like if you get attacked by a professional hacker when you are working in industry? So at that point of time, you have no prior experience how to deal with a situation like that. So, and how do you make sure that when you are fixing this security issue, your customers are not getting impacted? And how do you present those security findings or updates that your boss ask you? Like, for example, if you get hit by a ransomware, so every hour your boss is asking you, like, what is the situation? What are you doing to fix the issue? And how will you collaborate with your team members to fix the issue and make sure that you maintain the business continuity? So cybersecurity defense competition combines all these aspects. So it gives you a mock business which you are trying to defend as a blue team, and a team of skilled hackers are trying to hack into your environment. So it is at the collegiate level. You need to be either an undergrad or a graduate student to take part. And it is the largest blue teaming competition in United States. It is focused on managing and protecting the cyber security infrastructure, which is provided to you. And the teams that are, or the one team that is able to protect that in the best possible manner is the winner of the competition. And it is unique in the aspect that most competition like capture the flag are basically offensive in nature. You hack a certain environment that is provided to you, but you rarely get a chance where you are on the other side of the spectrum and you are trying to defend the cyber infrastructure. So CCDC provides you an opportunity to learn what a cybersecurity attack is when like a actual team of skilled hackers try to exploit your network, and how you will respond to that attack. So it is hosted on a national scale. There are different regions like Pacific region, Western region, and Southwest and Midwest region. So the colleges from each region can take part in first the regional competition, and that one team from each regional is selected to compete in the nationals. So we basically belong to Western region. So the regional that we take part is known as Western Regional Cybersecurity Defense Competition, or WRCCDC. There are other competitors we have in our region during this competition. So like from 2018, like there is a initial qualifier which goes on, and 8 teams from the qualifier stage reached the regionals. So these were the regional competitors from 2018. And one team from regional goes on to compete in national. So this is how the schedule looks like for the CCDC. So in September, the registration for invitational begins. So invitational is basically a mock kind of simulation of the regional qualifier. So in November, they start invitational, and there are 2 to 3 invitational that gives you a practice of how the actual qualifier will look like. Then there is a team roster due for the qualifier. Like from the Arizona State University, we can give a maximum of 12 students, and only 8 of these 12 students will be able to play in the competition. And 6 of these 8 need to be undergraduate students, and we can have a maximum of 2 graduate students. In the February, sometime around February 6th, there is a qualifying stage where we have about 20 teams from each region who compete in the qualifier round. And from these 20, 8 teams move to regional, which happens in March. So basically, in 2018, there were nearly 20 teams, and ASU competed in the regionals. After qualifying in February, we went to regionals in March, which was in-person event. which So each regional competition is followed by a recruiting mixer where different companies come to talk to students and interview them for the jobs in the field of cybersecurity. So this is the competition's composition. We have a white team, which tells you some kind of business tasks that you are supposed to do. I'll explain it in a bit, like what kind of business task. But an example is provide a social media policy for your company. Then black team sets up your network infrastructure. In the qualifying round, you have about 8 or 10 virtual machines and a single firewall protecting them. And in the regional level, you have a gigantic network, 3 to 4 subnetworks with 7 or 8 virtual machines, physical machines, IoT components, cloud components that you are protecting. And the red team is a team of skilled penetration testers and hackers who have been working in industry for many, many years. So they are trying to exploit the security issues that are in the network of each team. Each team has identical network that is provided to us. And our team, blue team, which is composed of 8 playing members and 4 reserved, they try to patch these security issues and try to do the business injects that are handed out by white team and respond to any alerts. There is also a orange team, which is kind of a simulation of a mock customer who basically asks you update on the services and their status. So you can imagine you are being hacked by someone. You have your white team executives who are asking you to do certain things like provide social media policy. You have your customers who are trying to ask you about the status of the services. And the gold team is the people who organize this and who take care of the logistics, like setting up conference calls and making sure that the communication channel provides you the information of the dates and the competition packets and things of that nature. So basically, if you are competing in this, you will get a chance to experience what a real world attack would look like and how you work as a team to deal with this. There are different roles and responsibilities that we delegate to these 8 members. Like the Windows administrator is responsible for managing the different versions of Windows that are provided to us. The listed ones are the versions that we have seen in the past. So basically, we are trying to fix the security issues in the Windows system, make sure that we harden any services that are hosted on the Windows. The Linux admin has to deal with these versions of Linux that we haven't seen in past. So Linux will have certain services like web server, FTP server, and the goal of Linux admin is to make sure that any vulnerable service is patched, and also if uh, there are any security hardening that can be done in the Linux environment, the Linux admin has to do that across all the machines in the network. Then the inject admin basically performs the operations that are provided by white team, like submit a social media policy or tell us the outbound firewall policy that you will deploy us and why it is the right policy. Firewall admin can be 1 or 2%, and it is very important role because if your firewall is also kind of your border router, so if your firewall is configured incorrect, then the scoring engine, which basically checks your service being up and down, that will not be able to reach the services, and you will have points reduction. So firewall admin is a highly technical role. The incident response admin identifies the security breaches and provides a incident response plan, like what was the issue, why it happened, and what we did to deal with this so that it does not happen anymore, and what we will do in future to harden our security posture. Then to collect this information, we need a log analysis admin. So this guy sets up the log monitoring agent throughout the network and make sure that we are collecting all the information that we need to do the analytics in terms of who is trying to attack us, how do we block them, and how do we respond to these threats. We do see different kind of web applications and databases like MySQL, uh, then Nginx, Apache, Tomcat. So the database and web security admins need to understand how these services are configured, how they are set up, and what we can do to harden them. In the last year, we also had a cloud component where we were provided partial infrastructure in AWS. And it was the responsibility of cloud admin to do some automation, do some task in the cloud environment. The presentation and Orange team admin is a person who responds to the client request from the Orange team and does some presentation, which are part of the competition, like present us information on hardening the security of your environment. So those kind of tasks are handled by the presentation and Orange team admin. So let's see what infrastructure we were providing in past. So during the qualifying stage, this is a topology of the services that were provided to us. So we saw a mix of physical machines. In the qualifier, we only had virtual machines, about 10 virtual machines, which were a mixture of Windows and Linux. They had different services that I described, like SQL, IIS server, web server, some proxies. We were provided a firewall to defend our network and make sure the reachability to scoring engine is persistent throughout the competition. During the regional stage, we had a very big infrastructure. So you can see this infrastructure, like we had a router which connected to two subnetworks. We had things like domain controller, which manages the users and services in this subnetwork. We had things like point of sale system, web store, wikis, vulnerable websites. So we also had this simulated nuclear factory and factory controller, then point of sale system, exchange mail server. So you can see like for 8 people to manage this kind of big infrastructure is a challenging task. And that's what simulates the real world kind of network, like do certain things that your white team is asking you, like provide policies of domain controller or provide a kind of firewall rule to manage the network between environments, then fix the security issues in the entire network, and also provide incident response on the kind of security incidents that red team is trying to do to basically penetrate your network. So we had both Linux and Windows machines in past. We saw different kinds of firewall, like in past we have seen PFSense, Palo Alto hardware firewall, we have seen Cisco switch. So it trains you on different kind of tools and technologies that will be useful for you in your industry career. So this is how the scoring works. We have some critical services that I highlighted, like web service, mail service, FTP service. There is a scoring engine that tries to reach these services, and every 5 minutes or 10 minutes, it checks if these services are up and running. The checks can be from very basic ping checks to more detailed, basically trying to log into a service and determine if it is up and down, trying to send some requests like get and put, and trying to see if it is still running. So every time a service goes down, we lose points. And basically, the longer we can maintain the uptime of services, the more points we acquire. And who is trying to take these services down is the red team. That is one way we can lose points. And other way we can lose point is we misconfigure them ourselves. Like when we are trying to harden, we don't know how the configuration of service looks like, and we basically make some configuration changes which breaks the service. That's how we lose points. Then we are asked to do some business task and submit reports, like what is a good password policy? How do you set up and create users for Orange team to log in? How do you set up a DNS server for your website? So we do these tasks, we submit a report, and we gain points on Injects. And the scoring is like if you submit very limited things, then or incorrect things, you get only 25% of say 100 points. If you submit say correct but incomplete, then 75%, and 100% means that it was correct. Then we gain points on incident response, like incident happened and you are successfully able to do the root cause analysis and tell the black team that or white team that this happened and how you will prevent it in future. So that is kind of a skill they are trying to simulate, so like you can replicate in the real world environment. So you use like logs from your firewall, intrusion detection system, and services to respond to these security incidents. And then you are asked to do some presentations which gain you some points. So as I mentioned that if you submit, if red team gets you or you break your services, you lose points. You submit bad reports, incomplete injects, bad presentation, you lose points. if your service goes down and you ask black team for consultation to help you bring the service back up, sometimes you lose points on that. Sometimes they just give you some consultation without being too pushy on deducting points. So the teams that do best on services, injects, and incident response, they basically win with the most points. So here is the dashboard that will look like. So suppose ASU is team 5 and we have all the services in green, and these are the services and these are the name of the boxes. They try to simulate some kind of theme in terms of the infrastructure, like this was Rick and Morty, and these were the different services that were part of this competition. So as you can see that team 5 has and team 6 have these in all green at current time. So if it remains green throughout the competition, then these teams will score more points. Team 2 on the other hand has lot of reds, so they are losing points on that. So this is an example of what kind of business injects we are provided during the competition. So one example is like review the topology and provide the traffic logs in the order of outbound policy, and develop kind of a firewall outbound policy and show us that you implemented it. And you are given a certain time to submit the report. If you fail to submit report in this time, you don't get any points. And a lot of these injects are coming in parallel. So the inject admin has to manage his time, and we also have someone acting as timekeeper to update the team that, hey, inject is due shortly. This is another example, like how will you install and fine tune your IDS? You need to provide a report that shows you implemented it successfully. You need to add appropriate IDS rules that shows that it is able to detect the certain security issues in an optimal manner, like say nmaps can be detected by appropriate IDS rule, and the IDS can block it. So this is an example of the kind of injects that are part of the competition. And then we have something known as incident response, like if something bad happens in the environment, like how will you respond to that security issue? You provide the details from your logs, at times screenshot, to showcase that you successfully identified something bad that happened, and you took the necessary steps to make sure that it does not happen in the future. So this has to be detailed enough to earn points. As far as the time commitment for people who are interested, this is the breakdown. Like we need a few hours of commitment with the students initially, and as we come near to the qualifier and regional stage, we need more time. So what we do is, as part of practice, we build up our infrastructure on VMware servers or cloud or self, and some of us who have industry experience in penetration testing, so they act as a kind of a red team, and some of us act as white team, and others compete as blue team. So we do this mock practice and simulation ourselves so that we can improve for the actual competition. Here are some FAQs that I received in past, like can I compete as a graduate student? So we are allowed 2 graduate students, and they have to be extremely good to compete. And if you have limited experience, will you be a good fit? So we have seen a lot of successful teams who were not actually from even CS background. So having a CS background is good, but uh, it is quite possible that you are from other major and you are competing. So when does the red team start hacking the environment? They start at the same time as you do. They use tools like Cobalt Strike, Metasploit, and what is the strength of red team? We have seen up to 15 members in the regionals. Each of these members are highly experienced. There is a question that goes on like, can you initially shut down your network from the red team and harden it and then bring it back up? So the competition uh, organizers, they have some strategy to deal with this kind of situation. So during the start of the competition, the penalty is twice as high for the services being down. So this is a bad approach. And how do you know, like, if it is because of the misconfiguration that your services are going down or red team? So you will know, like, as you can see from this slide, these are some screenshot of when red teams get a box of blue team. And yeah, you will definitely be able to tell if it is a red team or misconfiguration on your part. During the recruiting mixer, there are a lot of companies that come. So there are obvious perks that you get to interact with experienced red team members from the industry. You get a chance to interact with recruiters. You get a better chance of networking and have a shot at the jobs. It helps you become a better cybersecurity professional by practicing these skills that you will need in the industry. And it is always supported by ASU's Cybersecurity and Digital Forensics department. And it is always good to have this kind of practical experience on your resume. These are some of the companies that were in the in-person event from 2018, and these are the ASU people talking to them. So these are some pictures from our teams that competed in virtual environment because of the COVID regulations. And these are pictures of our team in 2018 and 17. So how do you get started with us? There are some things you can do to make sure that you start with DevilSec smoothly. So you can join the Discord. You can download something known as a virtual box and on your Windows machine, and you can download Kali Linux. Then you can attend our meetings. So our meetings are every Friday in BYAC 110 from 4:15 p.m. It's a in-person meeting. And we also have a Discord. This is the link that you can use to join. If you don't find it, just look for DevilSec Discord. This is our tentative schedule for fall. Like these are activities that we have thought about doing. We had our initial fair where we introduced DevilSec. It was in Memorial Union. And these are the things that last week we covered Intro to Linux. And these are other things that are planned in near future. Apart from in-person meeting, we have a lot of online meetings like Whack the Box Wednesday, book club, and other offline presentation. So it's more like a bunch of people who are interested in cybersecurity uh, meeting up, building community, teaching things to each other. This was our introductory meeting in the career fair. Like here we are trying to do some drone hacking as part of the demonstration that we did in career fair. We had not career fair, in the fall welcome. So we had different booths like lockpicking booth, then Kali Parrot Linux introduction booth, drone hacking booth that we demonstrated to the students who came to our fall welcome event. But this is the information of the in-person meetings and the Discord link that we have. And these are some of the references. So hopefully we see you at our next meeting. If you have any question, you can write me at my email address or find me in the DevilSec Discord. And thanks a lot.